Hey guys, in this video we're going to be shading in the rose petals on this drawing, and I've already created the line art for you guys. So and I'll have another video where I'll actually help you build up a rose drawing like this, and once that's done you have the line art that you'll need to build upon and do the next step, which will be shading in the rose. So I've been drawing this rose over and over again, so we're going to be using the same design to kind of help you guys out in learning how to do the line art and also how to get the shading. Now the shading part, when it's done, will look something similar to this. So it doesn't have to be identical, it just has to look similar, and there's no perfect way to shade a rose here, but they're all basic principles I'm going to show you, and mostly it's all about contrast. So if you can remember the contrast, which means you have very dark areas, which are darker values, contrasted against the light ones. That's why contrast is so important in art and also in design. So we're going to really get between the dark and the lightest parts. So, and in between we have a medium shade of contrast where it kind of falls right along the petal lines. And if you can see, I created some strokes that mimic the shape of the petal, and it helps to just make the rose look more like a rose, because these petals are three-dimensional. They're overlapping each other. They're also in a circular pattern. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to go back to our line drawing and let's start shading. Okay, the first things that we want to focus on is we want to get all the dark areas filled in. So we'll be going back and forth to our finished drawing and looking at where we need to start. And I always like to start right in the center of the rose, and I want to get this area filled in. So I'll be looking at this one as we shade. So just go ahead and follow along, and if you need to pause and catch up, just stop the video, keep drawing, then continue on watching. Okay? And what I'm doing is just creating some simple short strokes to just fill in my areas. And the pencil that I'm using is a 2H pencil. You can use any 2H pencil. If you have an HB, which is a regular everyday pencil, that's fine. They're just a little bit too dark to work with, I think. Going a little bit lighter in the H's will help out. There's an H pencil which will work great, and then the 2H will be the next lightest one. After that would be 3H and a 4H and a 5H, and basically the higher you go up in the H's, the lighter the pencil will be. In contrast to that, the B's are the darker type of pencil. So an HB is right in between a light and a dark type of lead or graphite, and the higher you go in the B's, the darker your pencil will become. So 2Bs, 3Bs, 4Bs, 5Bs will give you darker and darker and darker blacks in your graphite. So remember, H's means H is for hard, B is for soft. So hard pencils will give you very light lines and grays, and it's because the graphite itself is made to be harder, so it doesn't break up as much, whereas a soft lead like the B's has a softer type of graphite, and it'll break apart a lot easier and allow you to get more graphite or darker graphite onto your drawings. So a 2H is the standard type of pencil that I like to start art with on basically all of my drawings. If you notice, I'm just building up my lines. I'm not going crazy in too many directions. I like to stay uniform and just kind of build my strokes going one direction and then go backwards. It helps to fill in the gaps. And I'm just using medium pressure. I don't want to go too dark because you can get a darker value out of your 2H if you press hard. But I'm just adding a medium tone for right now. And roses are the one of the more popular types of flowers to draw, mainly because well, they're all popular worldwide, but they're also very complicated, and they have unique arrangements to how their petals form, and it does take practice. I mean, like lots of practice to be able to get a drawing of a rose to look like a rose. For example, another type of flower which is common would be a daisy, and it just has simple petals just kind of growing, coming out, and that's the most typical type of flower that everyone likes to draw or are used to. Roses are a little bit different, since whatever angle you're looking at can change the shape of the petals. So here I'm just adding shadow where I think shadows would go. I'm also looking at my finished drawing. And here's a good example of the type of strokes you want to create. Very light hairline strokes. You want to go in tight groups. I'm keeping my lines close together. I'm going very light. I'm not going dark at all. And that's one of the mistakes a lot of people make when they try to draw too quickly. You know, it could be that some people are just impatient. They want to get the drawing finished and they kind of go faster and they don't watch their pencil pressure. But doing a very good drawing does take longer. So let's go ahead and take a look at our finished rose and compare this one to the other one. Okay, so we still have a little bit ways to go. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video right now, and I'm just going to lay down this same type of value, which is a medium tone. And all I'm doing, I'm gonna sketch right here just to show you guys. is, let me zoom on in. Is I'm just doing this. When going faster, I like to do this. I make a stroke on the up direction and also on the down direction. So up stroke, down stroke, I'll make my lines, but I keep them uniform, same direction, and very tight. Single strokes again, or just like that. And of course, to erase, I recommend a kneaded eraser because you can shape it. Okay, so here we go. Okay, what I've been doing here, if you've noticed, I've been doing some cross hatching at the same time to kind of fill in some areas and make them even and get them darker. So I left this petal up here blank on purpose to show you what I'm doing. So I'm pretty much, whenever I can, I'll follow the path of the petal. You don't have to do it right away because I didn't do it here. I'm just trying to get the general a value of a medium gray going. So, and I'm also adding a little bit of a light shadow to the edges of the petals, because they do kind of curve on the edge, especially when the rose is at this stage. It's all the way open, and it's going to even open up more since you have all these petals in the middle of the rose still tightly grouped together. They're still going to grow out, and it's even going to be even a fuller rose when right before it dies. So, but for right now, we're not going to dye off our rose. It's still very much alive. So what I've been doing here is just essentially using single strokes, medium pressure, to kind of fill in my areas. And I'm going to add lines to the petals now, and they're going to follow the way the petal is growing or positioned on the rose. So these lines are going to be intentional, and what we're trying to do is pretty much do the same thing I've done here earlier. These shading lines, which are also hatching, they follow the curve of the petal, so it will help to get our drawing to look more like a actual rose, and it'll give it that effect. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better detail of the line work here. So just the directional lines of the petals are going in the same shape. So these kind of go out that way, up and out, and they're all essentially going from the center of the rose outward. So let's go ahead and do that on our drawing here. And I like to start from the center of the rose, and we're going to go very light. One thing to do is when you get to the edge of the petal line, you really don't want to go all the way to that line. You want to leave a little bit of a gap, because that also helps to create our highlight. And a highlight in a drawing is essentially any area that doesn't have any pencil or markings on it. It's just the color of the paper. So we can use that as our highlights. Or if you want to create highlights over a marking that you penciled in, just erase it. If you notice, I've been erasing it a couple of times here and there, trying to get my highlights to stay where they're supposed to be. So I'm going very light in the middle, because I still want to maintain that lightness, that bright edge of the petals here, because there's not much shadow happening at the very tips or edges of the petals. So sometimes I work myself backwards. I work from the edge to the middle. It all depends on the position of the paper and what I'm trying to accomplish. Now that I'm on this side, I kind of go out. Mainly because I think I'm just because I'm right-handed. So. And if you go too dark on some of these petals, don't worry, that's why we have an eraser. And to erase, of course, show you again the favorite eraser I like to use is a kneaded eraser. Any eraser that you have on hand will be fine. Just don't erase too hard, because some erasers are too rubbery and they tend to smear more pencil if there's pencil marks on the eraser itself. Those are your dirty erasers, so just be careful when you're erasing that you're using a clean part of the eraser. And I'm going very lightly again. You always want to build up from medium colors and then you darken them, so you don't want to go too dark at all. You save the darkest for the very last. That's why I like starting off with a medium tone for my darkest contrast areas, and I'm going to darken those even more once I switch over to like an HB pencil or a 2B or a 3B. And it's very important to get your medium to light values drawn in first. It just makes your drawing that much easier to do, because it's a lot harder to erase very, very dark areas. So it's just pretty much common sense that we like to apply. If only we can use common sense to other areas of our lives, that would be great. Okay, so I zoomed out a little bit to kind of show you the bottom part of the rose here. We're not going to detail it that much. We're just going to fill in some areas here, and that's all we need to do for the bottom for right now. And using a medium pressure so we can get that medium value of contrast. And you can use little oval shapes when you're in these tight areas so you don't have to pass the lines. Circle shapes work great in these kind of places. Just make sure you overlap your circle so you don't have any gaps. Keep the same pressure, same pattern, and it should have a nice even shade. And for the leaves, we're just going to fill them in with the same level of or medium type of shadow, not too dark like these. On the larger ones, since they're so big, we're going to go ahead and mimic the direction of the veins of the leaf here. Okay, we're just shading, we're not doing details. So ignore the details for right now and just focus on the shading part. just gonna clean up some overlapping that we got in here. Okay. That's all we need to do for right now for the leaves. Okay, so now we're back to our rows, and let's go ahead and compare. So this is the finished rows, and this is what we have so far. So notice how everything is still on a medium range. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go really dark on some of these areas, and we're going to switch over to an HB. Okay, so here I have an HB pencil, and it's going to help us in getting those really dark values. So I'm going to zoom in as much as I can into the center of the rows. And it doesn't take that much pressure to get a really dark value with your HB, especially if it's a drawing pencil. Now here I'm just adding the darkest of the darkest. And I'm just looking at the finished drawing as my reference. And again, we're just layering our pencil lines. Some areas are going to be pitch black, as dark as you can get, but not all the areas. That will help you get a more realistic looking effect. Again, we're just adding our darkest values to only the deepest parts of the rows in between the petals. And our HB is doing the job nicely, and that's all we want. course, a little bit of cross hatching also helps. And remember, we're building up our values on some areas. Like right here, we don't want to go too dark. In here, we just want to go darker. And all we're doing is creating the illusion of a 3D rose, or make the petals look like they're a little bit 3D. So you have dark areas and light areas, and of course it's important to put the darks and lights in the correct places. So the main thing about this video here is now that we have this rose shaded in pretty close to the original, is to just remember to leave the lighter areas where the highlights are with very little pencil. But if you want to make them lighter, like let's say this is a lighter colored rose, and for example this rose might be a red one, so this one can be definitely lighter, and we can actually call this finished. So, but let's just say we want to bring back some highlights. All you gotta do is erase right on the location where it would be lighter, and you're pretty much drawing with your eraser, more or less, because you're adding the light back in, or the highlights back in. Okay, and let's go ahead and call this video finished.